One of the questions I get asked the most is, why have so many different artist projects? Like, why not release all of your music under the name Lindsey Ray and build a fan base all in one place? And it's a great question. And I'm not going to say that it's right for everybody, but I'm going to tell you why it was right for me. Coming up. I have this memory of being in the car with my dad. I'm probably 12 or 13 years old, and it's already long been established that I'm going to be a singer. That's what I'm going to do with my life. And, I was at a point where I was already kind of visualizing my future and picturing what that might look like and what type of artist I might be. And I remember already being concerned about the fact that I was going to have to choose, that I was going to have to pick a lane and decide what type of music I wanted to release in the world. And that idea of having to choose felt so wrong and suffocating to me, even at that young age. I remember asking my dad, do you think I'd be allowed to just have an album where there's multiple genres on the album? Like, can I have a country song first and then maybe go to an R&B song? And can it work like that? And of course, he didn't know the answer. He wasn't in the music business. I don't even remember what his response was. I just remember that was weighing heavy on my mind. And as I got older, I started to understand why it works that way. I do understand from a business standpoint, you have to know what you're selling, right? I mean, it is the business of music. There's a product that is being sold, and you have to know what that product is, and it has to be consistent. That way, you know who you're marketing towards, and you can actually build a fan base. So I get it. But I also think there are numerous artists out there in the world, probably, maybe all of them, I don't know. But I would venture to guess that most musical artists love all different types of music and could very believably write albums in multiple genres. And that at some point they did, have to hone in on a certain sound that was their sound. And maybe that came through songwriting on their own, or maybe it came through a team of people who wrote songs for them and basically manufactured and sort of built what that brand was going to be. I think it works differently for everybody. And of course, you have the very rare legacy artists like Taylor Swift or Beyonce who have these massive, long careers that span decades, and they are so fortunate because they, number one, have a loyal fan base that sticks with them through all of it, and they have time. They have the ability to change and evolve over time as much as they want and have that fan base stick around and be open to it. And those are the people that, that's lightning in a bottle. That's the career that a very, very few top percent people get to experience. And I'm so happy for them. I am so happy for them that they get to experience that. But for someone like me who has remained independent for most of my career, I had an indie deal when I was 25 that lasted maybe a year, but that's it. That's the only time I was ever signed to a label. So most of my existence really as an artist has been independent and without that kind of a big machine powering everything for me. So how does somebody like me achieve a career where you can do it for a long time and you can also be limitless with your creativity? In my 20s, I thought the answer was being a songwriter and writing songs for other artists. In fact, I thought that was an indicator that I was just a songwriter. And I don't say just a songwriter like there's something wrong with being a songwriter. I just mean that the fact that I didn't have a very obvious core identity as an artist meant that I couldn't be an artist. I thought that meant I must be a songwriter and that must be my role here in this business, which initially was kind of heartbreaking for me, if I'm being perfectly honest, because the dream was to be the artist, I wanted to be the voice of the music that I was writing. And getting to a point in my career where I decided, or less decided, but more started to believe that it couldn't happen for me in the way that I wanted it to, which I guess is true, you know? I mean, I got to a certain age where things weren't progressing in the way, like the big way, you know, in the way where you become the Taylor Swift or whatever. Like that was kind of clear at a certain point in my late 20s. Like this probably isn't going to happen. Not that it can't ever happen. I definitely believe anything is possible and age doesn't really matter. Look at Bonnie Raitt and, you know, tons of other people that got their start later and have had these legacy careers. So I just want to say that. But mindset is everything, right? And my mindset at that age was, okay, I still want to be in this game and it's not working for me in this way. And so now I have to make a choice. I'm at a crossroads here where I have to decide whether or not I'm going to accept that and pivot and move in a different direction. I actually very vividly remember the moment that I made that decision. And it was less of an empowered decision of like, oh, I'm actually more excited about writing songs for other people, so that's what I'm going to do now. It wasn't that. I'm going to be honest. It was a lot of tears. I was in New York City for a writing trip, and I had just played a show at the Rockwood Music Hall, opening for Allie Moss, who's just brilliant, so beautiful. And I really admired her set. I remember thinking, gosh, she's so good. And, you know, there were a lot of factors that went into that particular performance not being my best performance that night. Like there was a snowstorm going on in the city and it was really crazy and I almost didn't even make it to the gig. And I was... Oh my gosh, I just am remembering this right now. I had booked some place to stay and it ended up being a scam. Like when I showed up at the address and got dropped off by the taxi with my bags in a snowstorm, there was no, like it wasn't an actual rental place. I had been scammed on the internet, I think through Craigslist, which, my bad. And yeah, I like buzzed some number and was like, oh, I'm looking for whatever. And luckily some really nice lady who maybe was the manager of the building or something came down and actually let me come up into her apartment because I was crying. I was like, I don't know what to do. And she had me up there and I remember like a kid was doing homework and she didn't speak English super well, but she gave me kind of a safe space for a minute. And I was able to use the phone and call my boyfriend at the time and kind of just be like, what just happened and what do I do? And he said, it's okay. You're close to the Chelsea Hotel. It's a legendary place for musicians to stay. We'll get you a room there. Just hang tight. I'm going to book you a room there and then get over there. So that is what I did. I went to the Chelsea Hotel, which of course at that time I was like, okay, well, this is a little bit better because I was a huge Rufus Wainwright fan. I mean, still am, not was, still am. And I had watched like every behind the scenes interview documentary that I could take in on him. And I knew that he had spent a lot of time living at the Chelsea Hotel when he was making his first record. So that helped ease the pain a little bit. It at least felt a little bit cool looking out the window and thinking, maybe Rufus stayed in this room, or this was his view, and this inspired the music that I love so much. And so now I'm in the Chelsea Hotel in my room and preparing for this show, and I have no way to rehearse for the show because I'm a piano player, and you can't bring pianos with you everywhere, right? So, oh my gosh, by the way, so jealous of guitar players. I mean, I love the piano and I'm glad that that's my instrument. But when it comes to traveling and just being able to take it everywhere with you, man, guitar players really have it the best. So yeah, I didn't have time to rehearse or a way to rehearse. And I end up going and playing the show, and it's not a bad show. It's just there's a snowstorm, so not a lot of people ended up going there. Like my lawyer went, which was nice. That was really nice of him. And I remember I think Allie was there because she was going to play after me. So I remember seeing her, and she didn't know me, but I had seen her perform with Ingrid Michaelson a few years before that at Rockwood, actually. So I already knew who she was, and I already was a fan. So I was kind of nervous that she was there. I think I've told her this story, actually. She's so lovely. And we have the same birthday. Not that anyone cares. That's how my brain works, though. Hey, ADD is real and very challenging. But I am going to stick to the story now. Okay. Also, sorry if when I'm laughing, it sounds kind of like a smoker's cough. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'm not sure if the mic is picking that up, but I have exercise-induced asthma, and I went for a ripping bike ride the other day in the woods, and I haven't fully recovered yet, so my lungs sound kind of bad. But back to the story. So I play this show to maybe, I don't know, all of 10 people tops, and I'm nervous, and I hit a few wrong notes. I think I forgot the lyrics, which used to happen to me a lot, where nerves would take over and all of a sudden I'm starting the song on the second verse and I'm like, ah, God, and the show must go on, you know? And I mean, I think that happens to everybody. And then, you know, you do the first verse for the second verse and you make it work. But my point is, I am my own worst critic. I am very strict, and I do not allow flaws in the live performance. And that makes it real fun for me. So yeah, it was a hard night. It didn't feel like a good show. I stayed, I watched Allie's set, and I was like, well, that's how it's done. She's wonderful. I'm obviously not. And I go home to the Chelsea Hotel and, you know, lick my wounds and just feel so sad because I guess the feeling was, well, it was that I didn't feel like I was good enough. There was that. And I also I wasn't enjoying it. And I remember thinking that I didn't love the music that I was performing. And I was kind of blaming that in my mind. I was like, well, maybe I'd give a better performance if I was excited about the songs, which, yeah, you think. I mean, definitely you should be performing songs that you love and that you can actually fully embody and perform to the audience. I mean, no one wants to hear someone sing a song that they don't feel connected to. And I don't want to say that I was never connected to that music, because I was. There was a time when that was what I created and that was the sound that I decided I was going to go with. But the truth is, I didn't decide on that sound because it was the one I loved the most or the one that felt the most authentically me. I made a choice about what type of music I was going to make because, well, two things. Number one, it was a bit of a popular sound at the time, and I had the goal of having a song in a commercial. When I was living in my apartment in Belfast, Maine, I had been following different artists on MySpace, and Ingrid Michaelson was one of them. And I remember the day that I saw her song in an ad for Old Navy, her song The Way I Am. And I cried tears of joy for her. I didn't even know her, but I remember thinking like, oh my God, because I knew she was independent. So I knew what a big deal that was. And I didn't even know that was a possibility of something that people could do. So now I'm seeing that this is a possibility. And I feel like it's happening for a friend, even though I don't know her. And I cried. I was like, oh my God, that's what I want. I want to be able to do that. And so when I moved to LA and was signed to this indie label and kind of had to pick a sound, there were two things happening. One, I was, really enamored with this particular sound. Lenka was doing that. Miko. There were a lot of girls that were singer-songwriters that were doing this kind of cutesy, I hope I'm not offending any of them. I don't mean cutesy in any way that is degrading. It just was a particular kind of quirky singer-songwriter sound, like Feist, that was popular at the time. And I thought, okay, I could do that. Number one, I thought I could do that. But the other reason that I chose that is because years before, when I had been a wedding singer in Maine, I had been a wedding singer for 2 or 3 years in a row. And wedding singing, by the way, is so demanding on the vocal cords, or at least the way that I was doing it was, because it was a massive band with a huge horn section, and I was always standing in front of the horns and the drums, and I didn't have in-ears. That wasn't a thing. I mean, it's a thing in the world, but I didn't have access to that. So I could almost never hear myself. And I'm singing all these Aretha Franklin songs and Christina Aguilera and like whatever, Alicia Keys, just really vocally demanding songs. And I'm singing for 3 to 4 hours a night while also drinking wine, and not understanding at that age that like you really shouldn't be drinking while you're singing because it dries out your vocal cords and makes them strain even more. And so I was just like muscling through 3 to 4 weddings a week every summer. And 2 years in a row, I developed vocal nodes and my vocal cords were actually hemorrhaging. And I had to go on a 2-week vocal rest where I didn't speak at all. And it was really scary. And I remember the last time it happened, the vocal therapist said, you're going to have to make a decision about whether or not you want a career as a singer. And if you do, you are going to have to start singing in a different way because your vocal cords are not going to recover. And so that was terrifying. And I was also a big fan of Norah Jones at the time. And I thought, well, I mean, I can sing like that too. Like maybe I could just sing softer and I don't have to do the belty thing all the time. So, so that was just another factor. I'm just letting you know that was another reason why in those early days of Lindsey Ray music, why I'm singing. So it's the heart on your sleeve, never making me wonder. And I'm singing really soft like this, woo, ooh, 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 because I was trying to survive. And I was trying to sing in a way that I could do multiple nights in a row. If I was so lucky to be, successful enough that I had to do that, I needed to make sure I could do that without killing myself. So that sound was out of necessity and also out of chasing, fitting into a certain crowd that I thought I wanted to be in. And both of those things, while practical in some ways, are not necessarily the most soul-fulfilling choices. So cut back to me sitting in my hotel room in the Chelsea Hotel, feeling like the show wasn't great, nobody was there, and I didn't even enjoy the experience. And at that time, I think I was 27, which isn't old at all, but I remember feeling like late. I already felt late to the party, like, oh, I'm getting started. I didn't move to LA until I was 25. And so many artists, especially in the pop world, they start their careers in their teen years or early 20s. So I just always had this kind of cloud around me that felt like you're running late, you're too old, you're getting old, you better do something quick. And so the pressure of that combined with just all of the feelings I was feeling led me to the realization that this part of my story is ending. And I'm choosing for it to end. And I called my sister and I cried to her and I said something along the lines of, I don't think I want to be an artist anymore. And she was like, what? What are you talking about? Because you have to understand, I have been saying that I'm going to be a singer since I'm 5 years old. Like, I have never let this go. It has been all I talk about, all I'm working towards. I've had like a little professional business mindset since I was 10 in the local play Annie, where all of a sudden I was like, yep, this is what I'm going to do. And, I had a whole community of people in my hometown and my huge family, everyone just supporting me. And I'm very clearly ambitious and driven. And of course, I'm not going to stop doing this. So I think my sister was just kind of shocked and trying to, support me through the hard feelings, and probably with the expectation that the next day I would feel differently. But I remember the way it felt in my body and knowing this part of my story is over. I want to do something different. So I start thinking, okay, maybe I'm a songwriter and maybe I get to be behind the scenes. I don't have to perform live anymore. And I already have so much performance anxiety anyway. I don't love that process. And I don't have to worry about building a brand or picking an identity that doesn't feel fully me. I can just be all the things I want to be, and I can try to get my songs to other artists. And maybe I even get to sing the demos, and maybe that will feel satisfying enough. And so that's what I did for the next few years. I wrote as much as possible and, kept the co-writing thing going in LA and just tried to write as many different types of songs. I mean, really, I was just trying to write what I thought would work for radio and, started just thinking about everything differently. Instead of thinking about it as an artist, now I'm like a businesswoman and I'm listening to the radio and I'm going, oh, okay, that's what's popular. Yeah, okay, I can write a song like that. And I mean, I'm hesitating because I'm remembering how naive I was and thinking that, oh yeah, I'll just make a switch and I'll just do that. And it's like, well, that's really hard too. And I had success, I did have several artists that cut songs of mine at different stages of their career. I mean, the first big one for me was Demi Lovato. That was really cool. On her Unbroken album, I wrote a song called In Real Life. And that's like a whole other episode, I feel like, going into the different cuts is what we call it when you get an artist to record one of your songs, because I have some really fun stories about that. But to kind of stay on track here, I'm just going to say that for a few years, being a songwriter for other artists absolutely worked for me and felt good and felt satisfying. But I guess what I'm realizing about myself, if I really reflect honestly, is that I change my mind a lot. I have a tendency to get these really sharp-shooting creative impulses that I just have to follow. And when they come, I follow them. I don't pigeonhole myself. And maybe there's some aspect of my life where that has been detrimental to my career. I'm sure somebody would analyze me and say, like, that's been an issue. But I know it's not going to change because it's just who I am. And I actually really like that about myself because my life has been very interesting. And I've really enjoyed my career. And I have enjoyed the fact that I don't pigeonhole myself and force myself to do things that I'm not inspired by. When my inspiration dies out and new inspiration comes in, I follow it. And in the winter of 2014, during Christmas time, when everybody's taking a break from writing, my boyfriend at the time and we lived together in North Hollywood, and he ended up, messing around on Logic and just started producing some tracks just for fun. And I started hearing what he was doing, and I walked in the room one day and I was like, oh, this is really good. I love this. And, my songwriter brain kicked on and I started hearing melodies and ideas. And I was like, oh, can I track some of these ideas? And before I knew it, we had written 6 songs and had them fully recorded and written. And I had some experience in music licensing early on in my career where I had a Target commercial in 2008 and a Yoplait yogurt commercial with my song You Make Me Happy. And I had a little bit of an idea of what made those songs licensable. And when I was listening back to these songs that he and I had written, I was like, I think these could really work for licensing. Like, they didn't sound like something that we would pitch to a different artist. They sounded so clearly like a band, like they were just very unique and they sounded like us, like the combination of he and I. And I was already signed to a company called Secret Road at the time, who is, historically been a front runner in terms of music licensing. They are one of the best and have been for many, many years. They, I believe, started their company with Ingrid Michaelson, or sort of because of Ingrid Michaelson's success. The owner of Secret Road manages Ingrid. And so Ingrid had a ton of success, like that Old Navy commercial I mentioned earlier, and tons of Grey's Anatomy placements. And so anyway, they started this whole business out of that and then ended up helping a lot of other singer-songwriters have success. And I got to a point in my career where it's like so hard. There's so many things that are coming to my mind that feel like they're whole other episodes, and I'm trying to like tell you the accurate story, but not give you so much information that this becomes a really ridiculously long episode unnecessarily. So I'm just going to actually put a pin in that right now and say I will dig into that more later because there's just so much to say about it. But my point is, at that time, so my ex and I were writing these songs. I recognize that they're licensable, and I'm like, hey, how convenient that I'm signed to Secret Road right now. And they're powerhouses at this stuff, and I haven't given them anything that's licensable. I've just been trying to write for radio, but maybe we should send this to them and see what they think. And so we did. And they got back and they were like, oh my God, we love this. We're pitching it for blah, 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 all these different things. And before I knew it, our songs were getting licensed left and right. Like commercials, Applebee's, JCPenney, I can't even remember T-Mobile, so many. And, you know, bumpers for TV shows and promos and just like, oh my gosh. And after the last few years of both of us being songwriters that were writing for other artists and trying to get cuts, and if you know anything about that world, you don't make a lot of money. Even getting a cut it doesn't generate a huge amount of income unless you have written the single and it's on the radio. So we were both, we were doing okay, but we weren't like thriving financially. And all of a sudden we come into this windfall of money and we're making it together. So it's like our household is getting all of the money. And it's like, wait a second, hold the phone. We get to be the artists, which we both really were, we were both songwriters, but we were both artists through and through. And so it's like, okay, we get to be the artists and we get to make all the money and we get to just have fun and do it together in the comfort of our own home. Yes, please, sign me up. So we start doing this a lot. Like we're still writing for other people, but we're spending a lot more time at home writing songs for this band that we decided to call Farmdale because that was the street that we lived on. We really didn't put a whole lot of thought into that. And, Secret Road was like, we need a band picture. And we were like, okay, yeah, we went to our backyard and just, snapped an iPhone photo and off to the races we were. And we had a great run. We did really well for a few years. And I got to a point where I was still writing once in a while for other artists, but I felt like, I don't know, this feels like I am lit up right now and I'm getting to be an artist again and I'm getting to make music that I never thought I would get to make. That band was very indie rock, blues kind of elements to it, kind of punk, little bit Black Keys, little bit just like, I don't know. It was different and it was fun. And I felt artistic writing those songs. It felt satisfying creatively. And we did that for quite a while. And then we got to a point in our relationship where we broke up and parted ways. And I think maybe for a little while I thought, well, maybe we'll still keep the band together. But like that didn't really work. So we didn't do that. And I wasn't ready to let go of this kind of newfound inspiration in myself creatively and as an artist. And so now that this band is done, I'm like, well, I'm still signed to Secret Road, so let me just start writing more music that I think would work for music licensing, for commercials and things. I had 2 years now under my belt of things working, and I kind of felt like, I think I figured this game out. And it feels good to feel like you know what you're doing, especially after years of trying to write for radio and feeling like it's a swing and a miss. So I kept going with it, and I realized, okay, I have to create another band name if I'm going to do this. I can't still operate under Farmdale just by myself. So I created the name Rayelle, which came from the fact that, Lindsey Ray, all my friends in LA called me El Ray. And so I thought, oh, maybe I'll be El Ray. I looked it up. That was already taken. And then I thought, I'll just flip it. Rayelle. Okay, that sounds like somebody. I'll just go with that. So that's what I did. And I started writing a bunch of music that lit me up and was fun. And the thing that I love about music for sync licensing is that a lot of what works for advertisements are fun, energetic, uplifting, or empowerment type lyrics and types of messages in the songs. And that was really easy for me to authentically embody because that's kind of my personality anyway. I am a bit of an eternal optimist and I love pumping people up. And I already had been doing a lot of affirmations to manage my own anxiety through the years of living in LA. So I was like, oh, I can just turn my affirmations into music and get paid to do it. So I'm feeling good while I'm doing it and I'm getting paid to do it. Like, this is a pretty good gig. So now I'm making good money and I'm having fun writing music. I get to be the artist. I get to be the one that chooses what kind of song I'm writing. I mean, yes, within the bounds of thinking about licensability for sure, but it's also kind of a new game. I've got a couple of years in. I've had some success. I feel like I know what I'm doing. I'm good at this game. It likes me back, and it is satisfying creatively. And so now I get to a point where I'm creating and writing so many different types of songs that I get to a point where I'm like, can I actually file all of this under Rayelle? Because now I'm doing this whole side thing where I decided that I wanted to start taking a stab at producing. So I started working in Logic by myself and just kind of figuring it out with the little bit I knew from the Farmdale days. And I started rapping, and that was fun. And kind of getting back into some of my more like R&B roots from high school, which I haven't even told you about yet, but I'll get there. But my point is I got to a place where I was expanding so much creatively and creating so many different sounds that I had to file it. I had to make it make sense. I had to file it under this different category. So I created the persona Olly Anna. And that was going to be where I did my kind of more R&B, urban leaning, rappy, whatever that is. It wasn't hip hop. And I don't even know if like someone who's a legit rapper would consider what I was doing rap. I mean, it is. But for some reason, I always have like a bit of a hang up about that because I'm a white girl from Maine. And I'm like, am I allowed to call myself a rapper? Which, yeah, I think I am. But that's one of my, again, it's a whole other episode about hang-ups that I have artistically. But yeah, I create Olly Anna. So now I have Olly Anna and Rayelle. And I am in a real groove. And I'm, mid-30s, feeling like age doesn't matter. And I'm doing photo shoots and I'm doing all these things that you would do for a real artist project because they are real to me, right? These are real. The only difference is that I'm not touring. I'm not seeking out a label to partner with me, and I'm not dreaming of touring the world as these projects. I'm just dreaming of continuing this ride where I get to endlessly create whatever I want and I get to somehow magically achieve this dream and goal that I had that day in the car with my dad when I was 12. And it still kind of blows my mind that I somehow manifested, or I don't even know, I think I manifested it. But if you don't believe in that, that's fine. Whatever happened, somehow I found a way. And I even found a way to bring Lindsey Ray back from the dead, because when I sat in that room in the Chelsea Hotel and decided I wasn't going to do that anymore, I kind of felt like I killed off this little part of myself and I had to let it go. And once I, years later, found myself in this sync licensing world and started having success with Rayelle and Olly Anna, well, then I got the itch to start writing some more singer-songwriter type ballads and piano ballads and different, using that softer side of my voice again. And I resurrected Lindsey Ray and I started releasing music under my name again. And that was such a exciting full circle thing for me. And it felt so empowering because it was my choice. I decided I was ready to do that again. I decided how I was going to do that. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm hoping that, number one, this answers your question about why I have designed my life in this way thus far. But I'm also hoping that I can be an example for you and proof, like living proof to show you that you can follow whatever your creative instincts are, and you can be any amount of types of artist that you want to be. And you can design your career in any way that works for you, even if it's never been done before. You might be the trailblazer that shows someone else how to do it. You know, there's endless possibilities. We are creators, so we are allowed to create whatever we want. And I hope, if nothing else, I don't know why I sound like I'm yelling. I think I'm just excited right now because I really hope that you get that and that I am helping you understand that. And even if just one person now feels a little more inspired to follow their instincts, that would be worth it to me. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for today. I feel like this is a good stopping point. And if you made it this far, I just want to say thank you for listening and allowing me to share a little bit of my story with you. And I hope you come back next time because this is just the beginning. I have so much more that I want to share. So until then, be well, and I will talk to you soon. I'ma do it like this, do it like that. Do it like this, then I'll do it like that. I'ma do it like this, do it like that. Do it like this, then I'll do it like that. I'm gonna make it good. Is anybody listening?